Hello and welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be comparing traditional savings accounts paying around 2 to 3% to crypto savings account paying anywhere between an inflation busting 12% up to 80 or even 100% interest. If that sounds interesting to you, then let's get at it.
Yeah, when I blow up, I'ma soar high like Peter Pan. In real life, be living out my dreams. If I'm waking up, it's in a foreign land. Whole wrist covered up in ice. Dealership, never ask the price. I hit the mall and ball with my dogs. Yeah, I swipe it once without thinking twice.
So most banks set their savings interest rates based on the central bank's funding or base rate. So in the UK, the Bank of England's base rate is currently at 2.25%. Now, looking on a comparison site like moneysupermarket.com, we can see the best deals here currently available. And I'd say on average, the best rates are pretty close to that and are between 2 to 2.25%. Although if you go through this list and remove the accounts with various terms and conditions and restrictions, my pick of the bunch is actually the Marcus account from Goldman Sachs, which is currently paying 2%. If you want to know why this is the best one, after you've watched this video, check out my deep dive on savings accounts popping up above. Now, if you're in the US, you can take the same approach. So as of the 1st of October, the Federal Reserve's central funding rate is currently 3.25%, and comparison sites in the States show various savings accounts offering around 3%, pretty close to that central rate. And here you've got an example of Capital One paying 3%. So for conventional savings accounts, whether you're in the US or the UK, I'd say on average, savings rates are around about 2 to 3%. So the equivalent to depositing dollars into a savings account at a centralized bank would be to purchase and deposit US dollar denominated stablecoins at a centralized cryptocurrency exchange. To make this a realistic comparison, I'm only going to focus on crypto stablecoins, which are pegged 1-to-1 to the US dollar, so they're not affected by any market price movements. In terms of which stablecoins, if we look on CoinGecko and go to the stablecoin category, there are around 100 different choices, but I'm only going to focus on the top 4 largest by market cap, which are US dollar Tether, USDC, Binance USD, and DAI stablecoin. So to find the best savings interest rates on these exchanges, I found this listing from CoinMarketCap, which shows us every exchange that exists. And by scouring this list, I've got my top choices of the highest interest savings accounts I could find. So first on my list, and the most well known, is at Binance, and they're offering an interest rate of 8% at the moment on their savings. However, this is a tiered rate, and if you look at the details, you can only get that 8% on the first $1,000 worth of US dollar Tether. My next best option is at OKX, and they're offering 10% on Tether and USDC. And then even better than that, Femex here are actually offering 12% on Tether. Although again, with most of these higher rates, they do have that tiered system. So here you can only get that on up to $500. And over at Bybit, it's actually a similar story. They're also offering that 12%, but again, it's a tiered rate. Now, while I was looking for all of these, I did actually find 1 or 2 that have a very high sort of temporary promotional rate. So, for example, at AAX, their crypto savings account here has a one-time exclusive offer of 80% interest APY, which is really quite good. Although with this one, you do have to deposit that Tether for a 7-day lockup period, although that's not bad, to be honest. However, the best deal I found anywhere is actually with KuCoin, who are offering a mind-blowing 100% interest. again with a 7-day lockup period. And also they do say this is only open to new users. But still, that 100% is truly quite something else. So to summarize, for the crypto exchanges, it seems on average, most of them offer rates in the range of around 8 to 12%. And then occasionally you get these super good deals that come up that could be temporary, but anywhere in the range of, say, 50 to 100% if you're lucky to grab one of those deals. So looking beyond the centralized exchanges, the next category of crypto savings products come from specialist lending or savings platforms. This took a bit of digging, but I found a few examples. So the first of which is with Ledden, who are offering 8% on USDC. There's one here called UHodler, and on most of the stables, including US dollar Tether, they're also offering 8%. And then we have Nexo, who are offering much better rates, around 12% on US dollar Tether. And last of all, I found this one called Coin Loan. It's a bit less well known, but they're offering a slightly better 12.3%. So for the specialist lenders, again, it's a similar 8 to 12% interest, which is not bad, although it is pretty similar to the same amount you can get on those larger exchanges. So the final category of crypto savings products is DeFi. And a good way to search for the best high interest rate offers is to use a yield aggregator. One I like using is called Beefy Finance. And if we head over here, you can see all the deals available, but we want to filter to only show the stable coins. And then if we sort by highest to lowest APY, this shows us the best deals. And you can see here, the top few options are paying around 30 to 40% for those stable coins. And just to compare, there's another yield aggregator here called DeFi Llama. I've already applied the same filters. And again, you're seeing that 30 to 40%. And then here's another one that's quite good called Nanoli. Same filters, again, 30, 40%. Now, the thing with DeFi is there are so many platforms that there's so much to look through. And if you really want to look further, I've provided a list here from CoinGecko with dozens and dozens of other yield aggregators. So you can spend a lot of time searching through all of these. However, for this video, the best deal I was able to find was from this platform called Grizzly Finance, where they offer these stablecoin hives. And if you click into this one, which is for US dollar Tether or USDC, you can see here, if you go for the maximum Grizzly strategy, as they call it, that's offering an APY of 32%. So I'd say on average for the DeFi platforms, you're looking at rates anywhere between 30 to 35%. So now we can start to compare these different savings rates and start to think about what's going to be most suitable for us. But in order to do that, we've got to think about our risk appetite and assess the risks for each one of these products. So before we do that, if you're getting value out of this and you're enjoying the video, I'd really appreciate it if you can support the channel. Smash that like button down there and consider subscribing. It's totally free and it helps trigger the YouTube beast of an algorithm and helps motivate me to get up in the morning and make more of these videos for my audience like you guys. So now that's out of the way, let's crack on and take a deep look at what are all of these risks. So starting with a bank regular savings account, default risk is pretty much non-existent because our funds are centrally guaranteed. Platform or custody risk of our assets is low. Accessibility, well, most of these are easy access accounts, so you can access your money instantly, so low risk. User risk, very low because the bank's doing everything for us. Blockchain risk, not applicable. And price risk, not applicable because we're just putting in dollars. Now, moving on to the crypto exchange, the default risk here is slightly higher because, unlike savings, our money deposited is not guaranteed. And if that exchange does go bankrupt, you could lose some or all of your money. So I would say the default risk here is medium. In terms of platform or custody risk, well, to deposit our funds at the exchange, we're actually handing over our crypto and trusting them to manage that and look after our private keys. So, there is some risk there, although I'd say it's not that high because these are big exchanges and huge businesses. So I'd say low to medium there. In terms of accessibility, most times it's good, although you have to be careful, especially with those bonus rates with the terms and conditions. Also, if there was some kind of liquidity crunch, there's nothing to say these exchanges couldn't halt or pause withdrawals. So again, I'd say low to medium on that. In terms of user risk, using the exchanges is pretty straightforward, but there is potential for making an error when you're making the blockchain transactions. So again, I put low to medium there. And then in terms of blockchain risk, well, as long as you're sticking to the larger cryptos and stable coins, I'd say this is fairly low likelihood that you would get hacked. And price risk, not applicable because we're using the stable coins. So moving on to these specialist lending and saving platforms, most of the risks are broadly similar to the exchanges because from a user perspective, they operate in mostly the same way. However, the biggest single risk is definitely the default risk because these specialists tend to be much smaller companies and they only have that one lending and saving income stream. So they're more vulnerable to a possible default. So I would rate this a medium to high risk. Lastly, moving on to DeFi, slightly different risk profile here. So the default risk is arguable here because there's so many different DeFi platforms. But if you're sticking to the much larger ones, I would say it's probably medium, possibly medium to high, depending on the platform. In terms of custody risk, the big advantage with DeFi is you do keep hold of your coins. You're not handing them over for the DeFi platform to manage. So actually the risk there is low. In terms of accessibility, all these DeFi platforms are run by algorithms, and as long as the business is still viable, you can pretty much access it whenever you want. So risk is low there. User risk, though, is higher here because if you don't know what you're doing and you make an error, you could lose some or all of your money. So user risk is high. Blockchain risk, again, is much higher here because you're increasing the complexity and you're introducing more smart contract risk on the blockchain. So I would say that that is medium or possibly even medium to high. And lastly, price risk is not applicable because, again, we're using the stable coins. So if I had to summarize my personal assessment of comparing these risks overall, obviously the regular savings account is a bog standard low risk product, so low. The crypto exchange, I would say, is medium risk. The specialist lenders, I would say, is medium to high, with no real advantage on the rate. And lastly, the DeFi is definitely high risk, largely driven by the smart contract risk and the default risk. So yeah, I mean, that kind of makes sense, right? Because the low risk product is offering the lowest rates and the highest risk product offering by far the highest rates. And then the exchange is somewhere in the middle here with that 8 to 12%. So now we understand the risks, I'm going to do a walkthrough demo of setting up a savings account on the Binance exchange. So I've started here on my spot wallet and you can see my balances of US dollar tether and the BUSD stable coins. If we go up here to earn and to simple earn, and then search for USDT, And you can see here that 8% rate. So if we click subscribe, you can check all of these details, but it's pretty straightforward. Let's enter the amount we're going to put in there. I'm going to enter in $90 worth. Click the acceptance of the terms and conditions and press confirm. And there you go. Shows the subscription has been successful. Now if we click view holding, it will take me to my balance of the savings account. Now you'll actually see in here the balance is 100, and that's because I already had $10 in there. So adding the $90 takes me up to $100. And you can see on the right hand side there's the 8% interest, and that will start accruing immediately. And if we did want to withdraw this, if you click redeem, you get this pop up, and then you just enter in the amount you want to take out, let's say tomorrow, and you just withdraw it back into your spot wallet. And that's it. It's as simple as that. And we're already earning that 8%. Another helpful feature on the Binance savings account is this auto subscribe button. And if you turn this on, it says turning on the auto subscribe means your corresponding assets in the spot wallet will be transferred to the earning wallet every 24 hours automatically. So this means this $1,900 worth or so of Tether I have in my spot wallet here, every 24 hours, it will just automatically get moved over into the earning wallet and start earning that 8%. Although if you activate that helpful feature, don't forget about those tiered rates, because you'll only earn the 8% on the first $1,000. So you kind of need to manage it to some extent, although the auto subscribe feature can reduce the amount of hassle involved. So to take advantage of these higher crypto savings rates, there are some steps we can take to mitigate the higher risk associated with those. So for example, on the default risks, one strategy is to just diversify. Don't put all your money in one pot. Maybe split this across the top 3 biggest exchanges or the top 5 biggest DeFi platforms. And then in terms of platform or custody risk, the key thing here is you've got to do your own research and figure out how trustworthy is the platform you're going to use. So good things to look at are things like, what's the size of the exchange? How many users does it have? How much fees do they earn? Is it a viable business? And just generally, what's their reputation and historical performance like? Are they going to be around next month? In terms of accessibility, the biggest single thing here is to read the small print. And all those terms and conditions or lockup periods or, special circumstances, make sure you understand all of that, because it may mean that you may not actually be able to get that rate. Next, we have user risk. Well, this is obvious. You just got to learn and make sure you understand, how these things work, and also how to actually operationally use the actual different tools available. And the second thing is the security. Make sure you put in place steps to protect your account and stop you from getting hacked. And then in terms of blockchain risk, always ask yourself, do these products make sense? Do I understand it? Or is the smart contract so overly complex, I don't understand where the value is coming from? And it may mean you have to reduce the complexity of the products you're choosing. Or if you don't want to do that, go back and learn some more so that you can get comfortable. And last of all, for the price risk, well, we've already covered this. We're only investing in stables, which means we're only investing in dollars and the price is not going to fluctuate, and we can focus more on all these other risks. So I did also record a demo on the Grizzly Fi platform, but it's a lot more involved, and I've decided to make a separate deep dive video on that. So if you want to learn how you can get that higher 30 to 35% interest, smash that subscribe button down below and hit the notification bell. And then when I publish that, you'll be the first to see how you can do it. Moving on to the conclusions, I think overall the crypto savings accounts are a fantastic part of your overall portfolio strategy, especially in the current bear market. You know, if you're concerned about cryptos like Bitcoin and Ethereum, with the price fluctuating wildly with the volatility in the current climate, the stable coins can be a great option where you get that security of the peg to the dollar, but you're also getting that inflation busting, 10 to 12% interest. I also think these accounts are great for people who are new to crypto, who don't want that extra price risk, but want some higher returns and to start off with a more simple product. On top of that, I think if you are going to do this, and you're quite new, I would recommend to stick to the big exchanges like Binance and Coinbase and so on, like the options I showed. The DeFi stuff is really only when you're more experienced and you know how to operate all of the processes. Last of all, I would say the mitigation steps are critical here, because with all these savings accounts, none of these are guaranteed by, the central FSCS, Financial Services Compensation Scheme in the UK, where if the bank goes bankrupt, your money is guaranteed. If these exchanges do go down, you could lose a lot. So the biggest one there is definitely diversify, maybe have accounts at a few of the different exchanges and divvy up your money so you have some kind of safety in numbers, if you like. And then last of all, do look out for those promos. I was able to take advantage of that 80% and the 100% interest offer for a short period, which is a nice little bonus. So that's it from me. I hope you've really enjoyed this savings comparison. I've really enjoyed making it. And yeah, if you would like to support me, ask away any comments or suggestions for future ideas. Hit the like button and subscribe for more in future. I hope you have a good one, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.